Hello, welcome to The Fear Files. They say some jobs test your patience, but others test your courage. Tonight, we delve into a chilling tale that blurs the line between compassion and terror. Imagine taking a job to care for someone. A simple overnight shift. Nothing you haven't handled before. Only to find yourself face to face with the kind of nightmare that will haunt you forever. This isn't just a story of caregiving. It's a story of survival. Buckle up for a harrowing encounter you won't soon forget. This is the story of a single, horrifying night as a direct care aide, and why it became my last. I once worked as a direct care aide for a 70-year-old woman with a developmental disability. Her daughter, Brenda, who was in her 40s, worked overnight shifts and needed someone with medical experience to watch her mother. When I say I once worked for them, I mean I literally worked just one night. And you're about to understand why I never went back. The 70-year-old woman's name was Marilyn, and it was Brenda who contacted me. It seemed that Brenda didn't have any other family to help, nor did she want to, or perhaps couldn't afford to, put Marilyn in a nursing home. It's also possible she felt more comfortable hiring someone experienced. At the time, I was already a direct care worker for 2 other women with developmental disabilities, so I had experience. However, nothing could have prepared me for that night. Brenda left for work earlier that day, after introducing me to Marilyn. Marilyn smiled at me briefly, before Brenda took her upstairs to her bedroom for the night. Around 10 p.m., Brenda gave me instructions. She explained that Marilyn sometimes walked around the house at night, acting confused. She's not sleepwalking, Brenda clarified. It's a symptom of her dementia. Just calm her down and bring her back to her room if it happens. I reassured her that I could handle it. The evening started quietly. I stayed in the living room, catching up on a show. These jobs often involve long stretches of waiting, so it was uneventful at first. Then, I heard footsteps upstairs. I called out, "Marilyn, do you need anything?" But there was no response. I listened as the footsteps returned to her room and the door closed. Assuming she had gone to the bathroom, I returned to my show. An hour later, I went to the kitchen to grab the sandwich I'd brought. As I turned to leave, I nearly dropped my plate when I saw Marilyn standing silently in the doorway. Startled, I apologized, but her response caught me off guard. "Who are you?" she yelled, her voice growing louder. I calmly reminded her who I was and explained that her daughter had hired me to take care of her. She continued screaming, "Why are you here? I don't know you." After some time, I managed to reassure her enough to guide her back upstairs. I gave her a glass of water and some melatonin to help her sleep. Once she was in bed, I returned downstairs, hoping the night would stay quiet. 7 hours passed, and I felt drained from exhaustion. Brenda had told me I could rest in the spare bedroom upstairs, so I decided to lie down. Feeling confident that the melatonin had worked, I set a 1-hour alarm and quickly fell asleep. I woke up suddenly to a strange noise. It was a rhythmic slamming sound. Coming from downstairs, happening every second or two. Alarmed, I jumped out of bed. Since I had left the door open to hear any movement, I could tell the noise was coming from the kitchen. I crept down the stairs as quietly as possible, my heart pounding. When I reached the bottom, I peered into the kitchen and froze. In the darkness, Marilyn stood in front of the oven, repeatedly opening and slamming the door shut. Her silhouette moved mechanically, illuminated only faintly by moonlight. "Marilyn," I called out, louder than I intended. She stopped immediately, turned to face me, shut the oven door one final time, and started walking toward me. Her blank expression sent chills down my spine. "Are you okay?" I asked softly, trying to keep my voice steady. Without saying a word, she walked past me and climbed the stairs. I followed her cautiously, watching as she entered her room and slammed the door shut. I knocked gently, asking, "Marilyn, are you all right?" When there was no response, I opened the door slightly to check on her. What I saw unnerved me. She was standing beside her bed, facing the wall in complete silence. It felt like a scene from a horror movie. Carefully, I walked over, guided her into bed, and tucked her in. Hoping it was the last disturbance of the night, I whispered, "Good night, Marilyn," and closed the door. Returning to the spare room, I resolved to stay awake for at least half an hour, but sleep overtook me almost immediately. Later, I woke abruptly, though my alarm hadn't gone off. The room was pitch dark, and for a moment, I couldn't tell what had roused me. Then, I heard a faint sound, coming from the closet. I glanced toward it and noticed the door slightly ajar. A shadowed figure of a head peeked out from the opening, and my heart nearly stopped. "Marilyn?" I called, my voice trembling. There was no answer. I called her name again and again, until she finally pushed the door open. Slowly, she began walking toward me, repeating in a cold, detached voice, "Who are you?" "I don't know you." Fumbling to turn on the lamp, I froze when the light revealed Marilyn holding a large kitchen knife in her hand. At that moment, fear took over. "Marilyn, put the knife down!" I shouted, hoping to startle her into compliance. Instead, my scream seemed to agitate her further. She screamed back, "I don't know you!" and continued approaching me. I realized I couldn't calm her down, not like this. Planning my escape, I jumped off the bed, darting past her as she swung the knife in a slow but deliberate arc. Her movements were uncoordinated, but her intent was clear. I bolted downstairs, grabbed my shoes, and ran outside. Instead of calling 911, I called Brenda as she had requested. Furious, she yelled at me for leaving her mother alone. I yelled back, explaining that Marilyn had attacked me and that I hadn't involved the police out of courtesy. She reluctantly left work and came home. I stayed outside, ensuring Marilyn didn't leave the house. When Brenda arrived, she found Marilyn back in bed, fast asleep. At first, she accused me of exaggerating, but when she found the knife near Marilyn's bed, her tone changed. I didn't mention that I had fallen asleep earlier. I didn't want to give her any more reason to blame me. Though Brenda offered an apology, I never returned to that house. In 10 years as a direct care aide, I had seen a lot, but nothing as terrifying as Marilyn's behavior that night.
For more videos, please subscribe.